The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And if you'd like to follow us online, just go to www.xzoneradiotv.com and on Simul TV, the good old channel number 32. We're also available on, the Mutual Broadcast Network and the Talkstar Radio Network. And we're here Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern as we continue our quest of searching for answers but demanding the truth. My guest this hour is a young lady that I've had the pleasure of knowing for so many years that her 3-year-old daughter is now in university. And of course, I'm talking about Holly Hall. She is one of the most credible astrologers that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing over the many years doing this show, over 4,300 guests. And I think Holly rates in the top 10 of that, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Joining me now from somewhere near Guelph, Ontario, is Holly Hall. And Holly, welcome back to the X Zone after all these years. Great having you with us.
So
hey, Holly.
I'm so excited to be here. It's been a little
thanks.
while.
It has. What have you been up to since you and I last talked so many years ago before your daughter went to university?
I know, right? She's actually 6 years. I think we did a show right at the beginning that she went to university. But in the last couple of years, during all of this craziness that's been happening, when the peak of the sales went up, we sold our home, empty nesters. And we just started traveling. I'm nomad, I'm digital nomad. I can do my work anywhere. I've got clients from all over the world.
Sure.
And we just decided, we thought, well, we'll buy a house in a year, and decided, nah, I don't think we're just going to stay the way we are. We're just traveling along. So in the summertime, we're here at a family property, and we've got our fifth wheel. And then in the winter, we start traveling again.
Down south, I suppose.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
We were in Mexico for 6 months last year, and then we'll go to Mexico again, then Florida. But I'm meeting awesome people because so many people are doing the same thing since COVID started.
Yeah,
a lot of people
exactly.
decided to just go digital nomad or just start moving to different countries. So we're meeting so many Americans and Canadians and all these great stories and doing my work, as I love doing my astrology work and helping people around the world.
How did you get started in astrology?
Well, I come from it a bit, honestly. My mom's mother is the last of the gypsies to settle down in Hungary. And my mother was tarot card tea leaf reader. And I grew up really a very bit of a scientific mind. And I didn't think I had the ability. I was told by a psychic friend of theirs when I was 13, because they said, this 13-year-old in the house will have an answer that you're looking for, because they were calling him for an answer. And I just thought I was giving them common sense. And then in my early 20s, I was complaining to a friend that I don't seem to have this ability. And he goes, oh, here's a book. And it was an astrology book. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so, but I'll humor him and read it anyways. And I couldn't put it down. And I haven't stopped doing astrology ever since. I've done it in past life. I've had proof of that. I learned it, picked it up really, really quickly. And then a whole bunch of other skills came into play as well since then.
Holly, how many different types of astrology are there?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I probably can't list them. There's Hindu, there's Babylonian, there's Western, there's sidereal, there's Vedic astrology, Chinese astrology. A lot of people are familiar with that. And there's tons of them. I did Western for a long time. And then in the last year, I started moving towards sidereal, which is very similar to Vedic astrology.
What's the history of astrology? Where did it start and how did it start?
Yeah, so that's the one I mentioned, Babylonian. They've got documentation on glyphs on walls that are date back to 5000 BC, even earlier. They could see the night sky much clearer than we could. So they could probably see as far as Saturn. But even in some of the glyphs, seen like a historical stone that they've saved in one of them, and it shows all 10, all of the planets, 12 altogether, but all 10 planets plus the moon and the sun around some
Right.
kind of god's head, a god like a Hermes or Mercury or whatever. So they knew that all the planets were there for some strange reason.
What happens in the case of a planet being demoted like Pluto did?
I know, right?
How does that affect astrology?
Yeah, we don't subscribe to that. Pluto
Oh,
is still going to be Pluto for us. Yeah, they made it a dwarf planet because they're saying it's not big enough, and we still use it. And then, of course, the other constellation came into play. I can never say it right. Begins with an O, and I actually don't. I'm not saying it's not there. I can see it clearly in the stuff that it's there, but I just don't use it.
Whoops, where did Holly go? Where did Holly go? Oh, there she is.
There I am.
Hey, welcome back, Holly.
Thanks.
So how did yeah. Got abducted there, did you, kid? How does astrology work?
It's really quite complicated. And when you're an astrologer, you get frustrated that people think they're just the sun sign, and it's way beyond that. Like the sun sign's probably like me, this small. But I'm sure anybody who's in a detailed profession probably gets upset when people just think they classify you as one. So it's quite it's basically the map of the sky, the day that you were born, and we look at that, and we look at that map like it's a language to us. Everything means something. The angles, the degrees, it's basically astronomy, which is the map of the sky. It's merely astronomy. NASA could create this, ephemeris are astronomy, and then we use it, and it speaks a language to us. So then we compare it, almost overlay what the map of the sky looks like, let's say next week, and then that's where we do the predictions of the transits, they're called, that are going to affect somebody in the following weeks or months or years. I do it in an empowering way. I like my clients to utilize these energies to promote, to advance them in their life and get them the things that they want and work through childhood issues, etc. There's still a prediction involved, but it's not as some people are really afraid that I'm going to tell them something scary, and I won't do that. I use it for their advantage. Even if it's an uncomfortable situation I see, I'll say, this is why you're going to go through this, and you're going to come out of it on the other end with all of these bells and whistles.
So why did you change from Western to Vedic?
Well, this is a funny story. A couple of years ago, I got an app that you're supposed to look up in the sky and see where all the planets are and the constellations. And it'll put Leo and all of them, the zodiacs in there. And I kept using it no matter where I was. And I was like, this is wrong. And because I knew the moon was in Leo, and I knew, the sun was in Virgo or whatnot. And so I finally just got rid of the app. And it was called Stellarium. You can still look it up, and I still use it now. So then when I was wondering why I wasn't doing Vedic, because I had a past life experience where I knew I was an Eastern astrologer at past. I'm like, why don't I like Vedic astrology? But it's a little more complicated Vedic. So because it's the squares and it's got different names for the planets and whatnot. So anyways, I got into the sidereal, which is very much like Vedic, but it still uses the Western wheel and the Western houses, and that I can relate to in the Western zodiacs. So then I went back to the app, and I was like, okay, now this makes sense, because in actuality, the constellations have shifted about 24 degrees or almost 24 days for the sun sign, for example, because the Earth is on an axis, it's on a wobble, and we're not looking at the sky the same way we did 2,000 years ago. So the ancient Western astrologers have created this ephemeris, which is telling us where everything is in the sky, when it's actually not even there now. So it's much more accurate. There's still a type of Western flair to it, but the accuracy is much clearer, much better for me. So that's why I switched.
Well, I guess that could also be because of all the pollution we have in the sky too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We don't, if you take a look at the history of astrology, or you take a look at just the history of astronomy, it's like the skies were so bright once upon a time. It wasn't even dark. Like, it was dark, but not like this dark. Like, you could hardly see blackness. All you would see is just
brightness,
nebulas and constellations and stars. You'd see
and you can still see that. We were up north to a friend of ours this past weekend, and he lives, way north of Sudbury. Yeah, and he's on a lake in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
it was bright in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
and it was just a beautiful sight to behold.
Wow.
Holly, what's the connection, in your opinion, between the three wise men, or the Magi, and the Christmas story? Were they astrologers?
Well, the jury is out on that one, depending on what type of religious person you're talking to.
Well, let me see.
What Bible that you're reading.
Since Holly Hall is here, you're going to be the jury foreman.
They were astrologers, in my opinion. Yeah. They were looking for the North Star. They were guided by the North Star, and they were guided by their intuition or their knowings, or, they were guided by them. Nobody told them, oh, go follow that bright star over there.
Right.
They just knew where to go. So yeah, absolutely. They were astrologers.
How accurate are the newspaper horoscopes? Do they have any validity? And like, I look at it once in a while and I figure, all right, there's how many billion of people out there, and they've got everybody clumped into 12 little groupings. And is it, when somebody looks at their astrology in one of these magazines or in the newspaper, that they actually look in their life to find something that is coincidental with the reading that they're seeing there?
If it can give you a gloss over, like if you're reading Virgo, for instance, and you have a lot of Virgo in your chart, like a lot, then you're going to definitely resonate with it. But if you're in sidereal astrology and you're in a different position now, and you really are more like a Leo, you're going to go like, I just don't. And there are people out there that'll say, I read my horoscope and it doesn't click with me. Probably because you're not that sign. You're the sign before that, and possibly all of the other ones are. But to me, it's just like a big foggy mirror. If I walk by it, I can see an image there, but I'm not going to see the details.
Miss Holly, you and I have to take our first break. Exonation. Holly Hall is our special guest. She's an astrologer. Her website is askhollyhall.com, and Holly and I will be back on the other side of this short break. Don't go away.
Are you ready to dive into the mysteries of the unknown? Tune into the electrifying X Zone radio TV show hosted by the one and only Rob McConnell.
I'm Rob McConnell, and get ready for a mind-bending journey through the unexplained phenomenon that surrounds us all. From UFO encounters to cryptids, ghosts, and everything in between, we've got it covered here in the X Zone.
Rob McConnell, the seasoned investigator and renowned radio personality, brings you the most compelling interviews with top experts, authors, and experiencers from around the world. Each episode is an unforgettable exploration into the depths of the extraordinary.
That's right, Exo Nation. Join me every week as we open the door to the supernatural and explore the strange and amazing stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew.
And it's not just radio anymore. With our groundbreaking TV show, you can now witness the sessions unfold right before your eyes. From chilling reenactments to captivating visuals, prepare yourself for a multimedia experience like never before.
With a legacy spanning over 2 decades, the X Zone Radio and TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, is your ultimate source for mind-blowing entertainment and thought-provoking discussions. Join our growing community of truth seekers as we continue to unlock the world's mysteries.
So, why wait? Step into the X Zone and embark on a journey that will challenge your beliefs, ignite your curiosity, and keep you on the edge of your seat.
Remember, X Zone Nation, the truth is out there, and it's waiting for you right here on the X Zone Radio and TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't miss a minute of the action.
Tune in now on your favorite radio station or visit xzoneradiotv.com to join the adventure. The X Zone Radio TV show with Rob McConnell, where reality meets the unknown.
The X Zone Radio TV show, unraveling the secrets of the universe, one episode at a time. For more information, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com.
And Holly Hull is my guest. AskHollyHull.com. Holly, as an astrologer, when you're doing all your readings for your clientele from all over the world, since COVID, has there been a shift in the kind of questions you're being asked?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually more right up my alley. People have dispersed themselves. A lot of people, I would say 50% of my clients have dispersed themselves from the matrix, from mainstream working, and they're wondering what their purpose is and what their destiny. And some of them have lost marriages through this, and jobs, and a lot of really difficult things. And what I love now that it's about 3 years into it plus is that my clients that because I coach my clients on a regular basis. So clients that had lost their jobs 2-3 years ago, or chose to leave their jobs 2 or 3 years ago, now they're finding where their purpose is and where their mission is. And they're going to more alternative ways of doing their work, or they're finding other career paths that they've always had a passion for. So yeah, it's been really fun to watch their journey through all of this.
When you were doing your astrology prior to COVID, was there any indication that something of the magnitude of COVID was coming?
Yeah, actually on my TikTok, which is Ask Holly Hall, you can go in there because I did a YouTube in 2019, and it's also in my book, 101 Answers from the Universe, which I wrote in 2019. And Source told me I had to have this done by January 2020. I didn't get it done till February because of editing issues, but it was in there, and it's literally called Eyes Wide Open, 101 Answers from the Universe. And I didn't say COVID was going to happen. I didn't say there was actually what I said was the real pandemic is division. And this was before a pandemic came out. So, or epidemic, I think I used that word, was the division and divide, and that people just didn't have their eyes wide open. So there was a few key things that I said that was clear something was going to happen. And then my clients had said to me later on, they said, did you find a trend? Like, you told me that something was going to happen in April. You told me something was going to happen in April. You told me something. And I started realizing I told a lot of people that something was going to happen to them in April, which was in Canada. That's when it all came to us.
Yeah.
And that's when and in US too. I have a lot of American clients. And that's when that's when a lot of stuff happened for them, specifically the mandates for a lot of people left their jobs or lost their jobs, etc.
It was horrific. So many people out there lost so much, lost loved ones, lost, like you said, their jobs, their homes, their marriages. It was horrible. Do you think that this was a wake-up call?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of things, but it's definitely a wake-up call. And I'm a little dismayed that it's not, people aren't awakening as much. They're starting to become used to it. Like, this is it. What else is going to happen, kind of thing, which happened a lot in the World War II. So, but it's definitely a wake-up call for a lot of different things that are coming out.
When do you think we're going to get back to, put this in quote, the norm?
Normal.
Yeah.
I love that question because I always tell people, never. We don't want to get back to the way we were. We want to get back to an enlightened, less, where we're literally raping the earth, of all of its beauty and its wonder and what it's really here for us. And not that I'm perfect by all means, but there's terrible things happening to people all around the world in order for us to have these resources. So it has to stop. All that has to stop.
Here we are, August the 28th in the year 2023. There are racial riots that are erupting in the city of New York. We have migrants on their way up to the United States. The people in Texas are shipping the migrants to the city of New York. The city of New York is in a state of chaos. Here, you also have political dissent. You have the war in the Ukraine. You've got what seems to be Russia coming apart at the seams. Was this all part of the awakening that we experienced? And was COVID the catalyst to all this, the epidemic, as you called it?
Yeah, I think it's the other way around, without getting too woo. But I think it's this has all been playing out since the late 1960s, and if not earlier than that, as you know, with the alien cover-up.
Agenda, yeah.
So I think it's the opposite. I think there's a lot of moving parts. I believe there's a lot of moving parts. One of the things that I learned when I was talking to somebody who's really well connected with NASA is that there's only 5 big people on the top of NASA, for instance, and all of the other departments, they can whistle blow, but one department doesn't know what the other department is doing. They have no clue. And so there's not really a tight ship running. So I believe that's the same thing that's happening specifically with Europe. I did a Substack article in the early 2020, and it was called Russia and China and the divide. The image was a divide, and I still stick to this day. I believe that they'll first work together. China and Russia will be working together to run things the way they want to. Some of the stuff that's happening in Holland is because of that. If you do your research, they want to be able to put a railway through there for that. And then they're going to fight against each other because they don't want both of them want to be taken over. So that's what I see will happen, probably more into 2024, 2025, a little earlier. Things are going to start happening a little bit earlier than planned.
Why are we going to what you call the global soul ascension?
Yeah, it's a global soul ascension, or it can be a global rebirth. Rebirths can be difficult, and soul ascensions are amazing because we want to rise above. For those that are stuck in the matrix, or they've got their own personal things that they're working through, it's going to feel like a rebirth. For those that are ready, they're done, they've had it, they just want to see something different, they're going to be right in with the soul ascension, the Earth's soul ascension. And that means that Earth will take back its power. And I'm not talking about climate change, because don't get me started on that one, but I'm talking more about the fact that we've got to wake up. But bigger companies have to, because us as individuals, we can do it, but it's still not enough. The bigger companies need to say, this is not the way we're going to be functioning anymore. So it'll happen around 2025. And we'll slowly start to see it in 2024. It'll start to divide in 2025. And what I see is it'll be a 50-50 split. Something significant is going to happen in November. We can talk about that. But the split, as we know it now, we've got about a 20-80 split. So 20% of us are living alternatively, going to alternative medical, searching that out, and 20% of us are using alternative education for our kids and food, and we're buying local and things like that. But in 2025, I believe it'll be more 50-50, because many people will be self-sustainable, or they'll be working to sustain their own community. And there are people way up there that aren't going to like that very much.
Isn't that the truth? That's always the way, because it affects their pocketbook.
Yeah.
So the global soul ascension, basically, is that just a shift in the way that the world is operating, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. People will start to see what a big difference it makes, because large organizations, Hollywood, I said Hollywood was going to come out with this about a year ago, and now Hollywood is slowly starting to come out, which what's happening with the human trafficking, and the young kids are coming out as adults now saying what happened to them in Hollywood. So this is the larger, huge organizations are coming in with money. There's billionaires out there that are not evil. And they're going to start coming forward by the end of the year and making this, making these shifts. And you decide if you want to support these organizations or you don't want to support that. And, that goes into the gossip where we're all going to start arguing with each other about who's right and who's wrong.
It seems that a lot of green grass organizations are really starting to pick up steam, that people are taking them more seriously now than ever before.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's really exciting to see.
Oh, we need the hippies back. We need ZZ Top back. We need Joan Baez singing, and the rest of it. And because they were telling us this going back to the 60s, good vibrations, give peace a chance.
Yeah.
Make love, not war, and the rest of it. Nobody listened. Nobody listened except the youth. And then they got drowned out by corporate America, the major corporations around the world.
Well, when Sinead O'Connor just ascended herself, as I put it, she was doing an enormous amount of work to stop war and stop the church and stop the child and all this kind of stuff. I didn't even know that. I'm ashamed. All I knew was that one song that frickin' Prince wrote. She wrote so many other songs and she was making such a massive difference. And I didn't know, but a lot of people did know. But it's a shame because it wasn't enough to make a difference.
All it takes is one person like Sinead O'Connor or any of the other musicians out there, or the politicians out there, or people like yourself, Holly, who use your voice to get a message out there.
Yeah.
And it does make a difference. We just have to keep on pounding the pavement and getting that message out there. But in order to do that, I've got to take another commercial break.
Okay.
Holly Hall, please stand by. Exonation, our guest this hour is Holly Hall. She's an astrologer. Her website, askhollyhall.com. And we'll be back on the other side as we continue talking about astrology here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com.
simultv.com.
And welcome back, everyone. Holly Hall is our guest. AskHollyHall.com. Holly, you were mentioning November 2020, 2023, I believe.
Yeah.
What is so significant about November?
Well, we're Canadian.
Yay, Canada.
Many of us are familiar with Jordan Peterson, what's going on with him. So he has gathered a massive amount of people that will join in England and create a new forum that will be for the people, for the citizens. So at that time, I'm predicting the beginning of the Great Divide. He's also very religious, so there will be some religion brought into play. And if I see this a lot in my comments on TikTok, that people say, well, God's going to save, Jesus is going to save, this is the second coming. And I've talked to some experts around that. I'm not a big Bible religious person. I was born and raised that way, but no, I'm more open-minded now than the dogma. but it will be a part of it. I think more of a spirituality of let's care about this, whatever higher power has given us this beautiful life on this beautiful planet. And that's going to be the beginning of it. And I told you that I've gotten really big into aliens and whatnot, and the whole universe is watching this show. Show. I won't say the whole word. And there's a lot that's going to, and as we know, the government of the United States have told us that they're in cahoots with that. So I believe that November is the beginning of it, and next June is when we're going to be more exposure to what's going on with the rest of the universe around it as well. And that's where the divide's going to come, because people are going to go, I don't believe in it, and I do believe in it. I don't believe in a higher power. I do believe in a higher power. And also, we're not going to know what to believe, because they're going to be able to fabricate events, and we're not going to know what's the real thing and what's not the real thing.
Now, when you say they are going to fabricate events, who are you talking about?
I want to say government, but it's higher than that. It's above the government, but yeah, the ones that want to remain in power.
Why do you think that there's been such a cover-up or a disinformation context when it comes to the ET presence?
I think at first it was innocent. They just wanted to not scare the bejesus out of people.
Right.
And I also believe that they then later on, because they wanted to keep the wreckage and to be able to analyze it and back engineer and whatnot, that created more of a secrecy, like we're children, like don't tell them too much. They'll get all scared or frightened, or they try to hold it back, or they'll want to know, are we damaging or hurting or harming anyone? So I believe that's how it started off. And then as it grew, the organizations around NASA and all of the other, every big country has their own version of NASA as well. They just started becoming secretive amongst each other. They didn't, Russia doesn't want the United States to know what they're doing. The United States doesn't want China to know what they're doing. And they were all doing, even Africa, they all have Mexico. They all have their own back engineering and their own. And I think some of it is, it's like playing a football game. You want them to think that you've got all of the great moves, but you also want them to think that you might not have all the great moves either. You want them not to know that. You want to it's like playing poker. You want to look like your hand is going to be really, is going to be the winner, but maybe you don't actually have the winning hand, but you're going to play that game. So I think it just got really carried away into this big giant game.
So where does your interest come from when it comes to the extraterrestrial presence and the truth embargo, Holly?
My research, because I was doubting it. I mean, I couldn't think. I thought, well, there's got to be, something out there. I definitely never doubted that, but I didn't have proof, and I didn't see that there was proof. And then as TV, internet came more and more, and we could watch people who've researched this for decades and decades. I started learning from them, and it's even back in the Babylonian age. I mean, it's undeniable that pyramids, that's my biggest one. I mean, pyramids, we did not build those. There is no way that we built those.
And yet there are those archaeologists who argue with you that it can be done. Scientists say it can be done. Physicists say it can be done. So who do we believe?
Yeah, I guess it depends on who you want to follow. I mean, what I like is Gregg Braden, for instance. He's one of the ones that does a lot of he's an archaeologist and a geologist and a scientist. And he's gone to the pyramids almost every year for 20 something years. And he had the opportunity to be there when they drilled a hole into one of the blocks in the pyramid, which I don't know, was several feet long, and they took it apart, and there was product in there. There was that is not on Earth. We don't have an abundance of it on Earth, or it's not on Earth at all. There was hair in it. There was resin type of thing. So they believe it was constructed of different types of material to make this. So I'm believing like the science-based ones. Scientists will argue against scientists, and archaeologists argue against archaeologists.
And UFO believer will argue against UFO non-believer or skeptic. And you
Yeah.
find the same you find the same thing, whether it's ghosts, whether it's Bigfoot. And here's the point, that after doing this all the years I've been doing it, nobody has come out with any proof. No one.
Really?
Really? Where's the evidence?
I know. I don't want to see a foggy picture way up in the sky.
Exactly. Especially with today's technology, everybody has a high definition camera in their cell phone.
Yeah.
And yet, no proof. So this is what I have a issue with when it comes to a lot of the information on the internet. CGI has been out for a number of years. It's advanced. Now you've got AI. And to actually put the proof in front of the public so that you don't have this great divide, why don't the ETs, if they're out there, just land and say, look, guys, we're here. Now let's get on with it.
Right? That's, but when you watched, I watched part of the conference that they did, the United States did, where they all came and we're going to give you all the proof and all the truth, ask us the questions.
Yeah.
It was so fluff. It was scripted. They never really, they skirted around every question. Well, we can't really divulge that, but we can tell you definitely that it's kind of there. Maybe sort like it was, no, I mean,
just like the last one a couple of weeks ago with David Gersh and Grush, whatever his name was.
Yes.
Where he says, well, I can't answer that in public forum, but I will talk to you about it in secure. Well, what the hell were you there for, pal?
But it's
there's
scary
your chance.
when you do some of the research on a lot of the inventions that were made, and these people were killed off, or their family was killed off, or everything was taken away from them, so they were pretty much like living like a church mouse. It's threatening. They're threatened. And I think that obviously that's going to make it really difficult for people to come out with the whole truth on everything. But I do believe that they're going to come down undeniably, if they're not that afraid of us yet. That they'll come down. Do you believe that there are aliens out there?
I have a hard time believing it. A real hard time. I've talked to many scientists. I've talked to the people at NASA. I've talked to, over the years, a lot of people who have made claims that they have seen or that they have been, part of. But once again, where's the proof? Show me a photo. Show me a piece of crash evidence. Show me something that is undeniable. If you've been doing this for 60 years, since 1947 and beyond, where's the proof? Now, even researchers of Roswell are changing their mind because the evidence isn't being, the stories are changing. So I have a hard time. I want to believe, Holly. I really want to believe. But maybe it's the old cop in me. I want to see the evidence.
Some of it's take a look at that Chris Bledsoe, but still all they're orbs. Like you're still not really seeing anything. Like they're not little green men with big, like, he says he sees the lady. Nobody's seen the lady. He has said that she will present herself or something like that's going to present itself to the general public. But yeah, I want to see them. Have you ever seen Earth's Final Conflict? The TV series is by Roddenberry.
No.
The one that did Star Trek, Roddenberry, the director of that. That's what I would like. That series, I'm still in love with it. That's what I'd like to see. And that was like in the future where the aliens came down and they were here to stop us from destroying ourselves. And that's the whole series, right?
You can put a lot of parallels between what the people are saying about the extraterrestrials and what their mission is or their mandate is. Going back to early biblical times, those who descended from the skies, the Nephilim, and, the creation. There are a lot of parallels. So what came first, the chicken or the egg, the Bible or the extraterrestrial before the Bible? Who knows? But I do know I've got to take my final break with you right now, young lady. And you know what I believe in proof? You, because I know the work that you do is it speaks for itself. And Exo Nation, if you'd like to contact Holly Hall, her website, askhollyhall.com. And we'll both be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone. Don't go away.
NASA has confirmed that they have evidence of life beyond Earth.
This discovery is confirmed.
Well, let's see, we've had visitors again. Yeah. Probably worth mentioning.
I filmed 16 minutes on March 5th, 1994, 16 minutes of broad daylight UFO activity.
The other side, the spirit realm, is a parallel dimension which runs, which coexists with ours. And what spirits are doing is they're sending waves of frequency from that dimension to ours.
The government instituted the truth embargo. The government poured disinformation and misinformation into this field, encouraging hoaxes and any other foolishness. It created a truth vacuum that naturally was going to be filled with theories and assertions and other stuff.
The oil oligarchs and the banks and the people who are making decisions that are leading us down the wrong path.
They've undermined the research, intimidated and threatened witnesses. The government is responsible for the fact that the status of this issue is not resolved.
I'm Rob McConnell, host and executive producer of the X Zone radio show. Now we are set to bring the amazing world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology to broadcast TV and online video with the development of X Zone TV. X Zone TV will now bring our loyal listeners and new viewers face to face with the most controversial and well-known personalities in the field of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. From scientists to theorists, astronauts to adventurers, celebrities, pundits, advocates, and naysayers, they'll all join our rapid-fire TV broadcast, interactive discussion, and debate. Interest in the paranormal and parapsychology has never been more intense, and it continues to grow. The truth is out there, so take a deep breath and join us as we step into the light. For more information about X Zone TV, please contact me, Rob McConnell, directly at these coordinates, Rob McConnell at xzonetv.com.
Holly Hall's my guest. Her website is askhollyhall.com. First of all, Holly, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Always a great pleasure talking to you. My regards to the family. And what's next for Holly Hall?
Well, I'm going to keep doing the work that I'm doing. I've got to turn my book into an audio book at some time, but I'm really busy with, as I said, my TikTok kind of blown up, and I've gotten a lot of new clients from there because I've been recycling through the same clients. Most of my clients recommend people, obviously. So it's just working, continuing, because I believe that part of my work is to help people find their purpose, to help people transition during these really difficult times into what their purpose is, because that's what we're being forced to do, finding happier relationships and happier jobs and happier essence within themselves and happier relationships with their childhood, etc. So I just want to continue doing that work.
What are your final thoughts for the X Zone Nation tonight, Holly?
I think, we got to have a more open mind. We've got to ask a lot of questions, but don't believe everything we hear.
That kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let our listeners know how they can contact you, Holly. One more time.
askhollyhall.com. I'm really active on YouTube and very active on TikTok, which is also Ask Holly Hall, Hall at the end. I'm trying to get my Twitter more exposure as well. So that's another place I would rather be more active rather than Facebook and Instagram. You can find me on there as well, but I'm not as active astrologically and my clairvoyance and my downloads, etc. than I am there.
Holly Hall, thank you very much for joining us. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to the next time we meet back here in the X Zone.
I am too.
Take care, dear. Exonation, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at the top of the hour. We're going to be talking about the paranormal activity in the city of Montreal. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.